What's going on, guys? This is the Edge DFS. We're coming to you for Sunday Night Football Showdown Slate. Browns at the Giants. My name is Tyson Smith. I got rid of the beard. Looks a little strange. It's been about 10 years. I had to, with all the mask wearing here, I had to, freshen it up a little bit here. Joined by Ellie Hernandez. What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing pretty good. Looking okay on the main slate so far, so hopefully that sticks through. I mean, we're only 40 minutes in, so who fucking knows?
We've been doing pretty good with our, I think we nailed it. We nailed the Saturday slate, minus if, Melvin Gordon ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. Drew Lock didn't do very good. I still profited on that matchup, though, and then, the late night matchup, we did pretty well with that one, actually. We got really close. The lineup we built on the show almost took us home there.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Jamal Williams getting hurt in the fucking first quarter, we would have been fine. I mean, again, that was pretty close. I mean, we got what it was in one of the kickers that we got in for whatever reason. I mean, as much shit as we talk, like we ended up with him in our build, and that last 50-yard field goal there kind of just made a shitload of money for us. So it was cool. Yeah. Noah Fant, man, I can't believe, we came up with that on the show. We had no idea we were going to play Noah Fant, and then all of a sudden that dominated my exposures last night. If I didn't do that, I would have been completely screwed, dude.
He still got there, man. He still got there. So it was a good show. So look, stick around until we do our lineup build with you guys. There's always a chance that one of these hand built lineups can go off. Like it did last night, and even a couple days ago, we had a really good one. So just stick with us until the end, and we can all win some money together. All right. So look, we've got the Browns at the Giants here. Daniel Jones is out. I don't know, man. What do you think about this? The Browns coming off of a rough loss, even though that was the game of the year, in my opinion. It was an amazing game, especially considering how bad some of these NFL games have been. That one just stuck out, and it was really fun. They ended up losing at the end there. So, they could have easily won that game. I don't think that the team would be too discouraged, but at this point, they have to get a win here. This is very, very important for their playoff chances.
Playoffs?
So what do you think about this game overall? The Giants have so that's wrong. The Giants have a lot to play for. I just don't know that they can come up with a win here, especially with Colt McCoy. If they do win, they could potentially be tied for first place in the East. So what are your thoughts on this matchup overall?
First of all, I hope the Giants win so that the odds books will fucking drop the Washington football team's odds again, and I can bet on them to win the division. I should have just done that earlier in the season when I started calling out how good their defense was.
Yeah,
they were at like plus 800 at one point. That would have been just free fucking money.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know, man. I really don't think this is going to be a good game. Colt McCoy, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I think that they can stay kind of competitive. This is a good opportunity for them to try and establish the run. Cleveland doesn't have a very good run defense. So I think they'll need to do that to stay competitive here. And we'll get into that here soon because I think we both are high on the running back side for New York. But again, you're right? Baker pulls off this win. They still have a chance to take the division. I think they're split with the Ravens right now. Wait, the Steelers, are they in their division? What the fuck? Never mind. We might have to look at that a little bit more, but it's going to be a tight race.
The Steelers. Yeah. They're all in that division. They're all in the North.
It's still seeding, right? Because of that 7th wild card spot. If you come in third in your division, you're looking at a 6th or 7th seed.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting how this plays out. This is a very important game. I'm just kind of pissed that they fucking flexed this game. Like, there could have been so many better games.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, we're getting multiple Cleveland showdown slates here, which is interesting. I mean, look, the Giants have something to play for. There's a lot of playoff implications here, so we don't have to worry about motivation or anything like that when it comes to this game. Every team is playing for their life here. If the Giants can find a way to make the playoffs, I mean, that really gives a lot of momentum for them going into next year. They can figure out whether Daniel Jones can stay healthy. They can actually make a run next year. I don't think they're a very good team, but considering they're 5-8, that's not bad for the Giants. I know they got their ass kicked by the Cardinals last week. It didn't turn out very good for them, but look, I just don't think that Colt McCoy is the guy to lead this team to the playoffs. They're going to need Daniel Jones back if they can make it. Colt McCoy came out and had a really big game. Well, not big game. He managed the game well against the Seahawks, which got them the win. He threw for 105 yards and a touchdown. That's not nothing to write home about. That's something we'll get into here in a minute. So let's look at the over under and the totals here. Obviously, Cleveland traveling to New York. Cleveland's 9-4. The Giants are 5-8. Cleveland minus 309 on the money line. 75% win probability. It's a 44.5 total, and Cleveland's favored by 6.5. So look, this total's pretty damn low here. Obviously the Giants are not expected to score a lot of points. I think that 19-point implied total is even a little high. I think with Colt McCoy, they've scored 17 points, 14 points, something to that effect. Obviously, it's a small sample size. I just don't know if they can get there, and if they can get there, I think it's going to have to be the running game. So what do you think about this overall? And look at this. Look at the ownership total. It's really interesting. I know this is a little early for ownership, but this should be way heavily towards Cleveland. I'm wondering why the Giants are only within 10 points of ownership for Cleveland.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I don't know. I personally, if ownership kind of seems to be balanced and they're looking more 3-3 builds, because again, I think people are going to be high on the Giants just a little bit simply because they do have the opportunity to playoffs still. And that win against Seattle was pretty spectacular. They shouldn't have won that game.
Yeah.
So they do have a capable defense. So I think people are going to be a little bit higher on them than we would expect. If that's the case, I'll be comfortable running 4-2s and 5-1s and just stacking the shit out of onslaughts of Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to say it, man. I just don't think this is going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to be close. The Giants' defense against the Cleveland offense is going to be interesting, but the win probability should be closer to the 80s for Cleveland. I think the total is a little low, though. 44.5. Yeah. Again, we saw Cleveland almost hit that themselves on Monday. So I definitely think that they have some firepower here, and they might come out a little pissed off and put up 30, 31, 35 points.
I mean, look, the last 2 weeks they've scored 41 and 42. Against Jacksonville they scored 27. So, they have a relatively decent upside when it comes to, scoring up to 40 points. Cleveland does. And I don't feel I think there's zero chance that the Giants have a shot to even hit 30, in my opinion, for this matchup. So the only thing you can hope for is maybe to me the 1 or 2 touchdowns from the Giants. You're gonna have to find those 2 players. I'm just not comfortable getting any. I'm not getting comfortable getting any 3-3 stacks here. I'd rather go 4-2s and maybe a couple 5-1s. A lot of times we try to be different and say, oh well, the Giants can go off. Let's be a little bit different and let's stack more Giants. But if the ownership's coming in where they're around equal, I'm gonna go towards the team that I know is gonna have, most likely at least 4 touchdowns and a handful of field goals, and that's the Cleveland Browns. All right, so let's move over to the injury side of the ball here. We've got a handful of things to talk about here. So the Cleveland Browns, and we lost Ellie, so give me a second here. Let's see if we can bring him back within a couple of seconds. Let's reconnect. And there he is. What's up, dude? You hear me? Yo, you hear me?
Yeah.
You back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right, we got that out of the way early. That's nice. So Cleveland Browns, we've got Austin Hooper is questionable with a neck. You got David Njoku questionable with a knee, and Kadero Hodge questionable with a hammy. We'll get into the horse's mouth here in a minute. We'll actually hear from Kevin Stefanski and about these injuries. When it comes to the Giants, obviously Daniel Jones is out. You got Evan Ingram questionable. Devontae Freeman is eligible to return from IR. So to me, I really hope he's not going to come back. He's still doubtful. If he comes back, that might muddy the water a little bit with the running backs. Gallman will take maybe a slight hit. I still think Gallman is obviously the guy who's going to get most of the carries, but you worry about Devontae Freeman coming in and getting some random carries that kind of fucks everything up. But he's doubtful, so I would consider him, obviously doubtful to play. Caden Smith is questionable tight end. The only reason I bring that up is because both Evan Ingram and Caden Smith are questionable, so that opens things up. If one of these guys is out, you got Toy Lolu or whatever the hell this dude's name is as a potential option. So, what jumps out to you here, man?
Yeah, I think the tight end situation is pretty interesting on the Cleveland Browns side. Austin Hooper and David Njoku are both very good tight ends, and they're very athletic. So, as we saw in the Baltimore game, you do have the option to kind of jam some of these guys in and do okay. If not, Harrison Bryant gets a huge lift. I think he'll be used a lot. So, I'll be keeping a close eye on the tight end situation. And Kadarius Hodge, that's actually really important too. That opens up some of the other receivers, I think it's Rashard Higgins, not T. Higgins. I get them both confused.
One of those Higgins,
but
dude.
Anyways, it's Rashard Higgins. The Higgins that's on the Browns, he'll have a little bit of boost if Kadarius Hodge is out. But if Kadarius Hodge plays, I think he's an interesting play as well. He has the ability to kind of just open up a defense a little bit. More of a big play kind of guy. He'll probably have fewer receptions, but he is interesting to me. And again, if they're all in there, right, that kind of helps spread out some of the ownership, so you don't have to worry about getting too crazy to get different. So that helps. Obviously, Daniel Jones is big. Evan Ingram is interesting because he's one of the few people on the I don't know. I think you're going to have one of the pass catchers on the Giants, and Evan Ingram does have some big play upside as well. So I like him. But if he doesn't play, I really don't know what you do, because then you have to go to Caden Smith, and if he doesn't play, then who the fuck is going to play? Running back or tight end, fucking Wayne Gallman if Devontae Freeman's in.
It's Levine Toilolo at $200. Oh, so that's okay. Where things actually play in. So keep an eye on this kind of thing.
He's a pretty good tight end. So look, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that opens up here. We're going to have to keep an eye on injuries pretty much all day then.
So let's just go ahead and listen to our segment from the horse's mouth. We're going to hear from the Browns head coach and kind of get his thoughts on who he thinks can actually play.
Just want to know from the horse's mouth, what is the dealio?
All right, so this is about David Njoku.
David Njoku looks like a new injury. What's going on with him?
Yeah, precautionary, held him out, but I'm optimistic that he'll be out there Sunday night.
All right, so that seems like he's trending towards playing. Let's check out some more injuries here.
And then what about the other guys that you got back this week? Denzel Ward, Austin Hooper, Kadarius Hodge. How do you feel about them? Or you expect them to play Sunday?
Yeah, I feel good about those guys.
Thanks. So that's interesting because these guys that are questionable, Hooper and Hodge, he seems to think that they're going to play. And maybe it's a smokescreen. I don't know. But, hearing it from him directly, it seems like, they're trending towards actually playing. So if you're going to build lineups before we get to inactives, you can at least kind of plan for these things and then obviously wait for the news. Let's hear one more thing. This is the Browns coach talking about Wayne Gallman.
Giants running back, Gallman. He's a guy who's averaging around 4 yards a carry. What do you see from him on film, and just what kind of a problem does he pose for the defense?
Yeah, a really good player. I think he's second in the league in yards after contact behind Nick Chubb. He's always moving forward, has a great understanding of their run schemes, of where the ball goes. He doesn't miss many reads. I think he's a really good football player.
So, Gallman, I think, is the best option on the Giants, in my opinion. And considering, how the Ravens absolutely, destroyed them on the ground last week, I think you have to consider Gallman. I think you have to consider a few guys from the backfield of the Giants. So after hearing all that, anything jump out to you?
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski just doesn't give any information.
No,
he just doesn't fucking talk.
No,
is that guy playing? Yes.
Yeah, he's the worst,
Thanks.
dude. I got through it. It was an 8-minute interview, and I wanted to fucking fall asleep. It was brutal. All right, let's fucking just get right into this, dude. Let's get into our quarterbacks here. Let's get into the breakdown. Break it down. All right, so we've got Baker Mayfield coming in at 10.6K. That seems really freaking low. That's a little ridiculous. We've seen we obviously do every showdown slate. This might be one of the most mispriced quarterbacks we've seen in a while at 10.6K. Now look, Colt McCoy at 8,600. I get it. This is like some Ben DiNucci shit right here. I think he's a better option than that, level of quarterback. But I just don't feel like Colt McCoy can come out and actually have a good game here. So look, at 10.6K for Baker Mayfield, how is he not in every one of your lineups?
I'm just going to keep it simple. He will be in every one of my lineups. Made the mistake of not playing him a lot on Monday night, and I can't do that again. This is a good opportunity for him. The Giants defense, they're pretty good, man, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with this offense. They're pretty powerful, and Browns are proving this year that they're an actual team that can win, and Baker Mayfield's been good. So, he's going to be in all my lineups, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about here. I mean, look at the last few weeks. Obviously, he has a relatively low floor for a quarterback. He can have one of these bad games. I think he just has a lot of momentum going on right now. I think we should just ride that. And look, there is a path that the Colt McCoy can have a good game. I just feel like Baker Mayfield, he's being projected for only like 3 more points than Colt McCoy. I think that's insane. I think Baker Mayfield's projection right now is hovering around 15. I don't get it. I just don't understand that. He should be in the 18 to 20. And look, maybe it's because, the run game here is going to be what's dominating in this matchup. I just feel like Baker Mayfield is going to be responsible for a lot of the points. He's going to be the guy who's getting a lot of points. And we saw he can rush the ball too. We saw he can get a running touchdown here and there. So, I don't know, man. Why... Go ahead.
Speaking of rushing, Ryan Tannehill just scored a rushing touchdown.
Nice. So, why the hell is Baker Mayfield only projected for 15 fantasy points on my projections?
The only thing that I can see, I mean, he's not different on mine, but the only thing that I can think of is that they just are projecting kind of a blowout, and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb to dominate most of the game, which I can understand why. But again, I think you run into situations where you kind of misread blowouts a little easily, right? Just because it's, the final score may end up 35 to fucking 12 doesn't necessarily mean that the Browns are running all game, right? They could go up 28-0 pretty quickly just by Baker Mayfield connecting with Jarvis Landry. So I understand it. I kind of get it, but I think it's going to take some ownership off of Baker Mayfield just because of the projections, right?
Yeah.
I think you're going to have a lot more of Nick Chubb at captain, or even Kareem Hunt at captain, simply because of what he did last week, right?
Yeah.
But given his price, I'm fine with it if he's a little chalky there.
So,
but anyways,
yeah,
I think Baker Mayfield he's just going to be impacted by the run game.
So it looks like as of now, the initial ownership projections that have come out it looks like Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb are going to be right around the same ownership, hovering around less than 45% in the flex, and upwards of 15% in the captain. So that's interesting to me. It feels like the ownership is really spread out here for this slate. And now the current ownership I'm looking at has Daniel Jones involved and Colt McCoy involved as sort of like I think as a backup. They've got Daniel Jones as like the 3rd highest owned if he were to play. And Colt McCoy is hovering around the 30% utility if he starts, which he will. So interestingly enough, Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb are going to be still high owned, but not as high as you would typically see like an Aaron Rodgers, obviously, 60, 70, 80% owned, that kind of thing. So you can still get some leverage by playing Baker Mayfield. And especially at that price point, I like it. So let's move over to the running backs for the Browns. You got Nick Chubb. He's 11.2K, which is understandable. He's getting, he is getting a majority of the carries, and if this is going to be a blowout, you would expect Nick Chubb to be the guy who gets those carries, wears them down in the 4th quarter. But Kareem Hunt at 7K, I just don't get this. I know recency bias is going to come into play with a great game last week. I know that potentially Kareem Hunt can have an average game here. They just might not need him. But how do you not get a shitload of Kareem Hunt at 7K? And considering he's going to be probably under 30% owned in the flex and around 5% in the captain.
Yeah, I might lock him, man. I think this is a great game for the handcuff. Now, I will make one call out. Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield are projected for damn near the same amount of points.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest with you, if I can save $1,000 and go with the guy who's literally going to touch the ball on every snap, I think I'd rank Baker just ahead of Nick Chubb. Now, if I can get all three of those guys and then one of the pass catchers from the Browns side, I'm all in for it. But Kareem Hunt just 7K doesn't make sense, and he's on my projections. He's only coming in 3 points less projected points than Nick Chubb. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know how you don't jam him into everything. And then at captain, I mean, he makes a really interesting play because you all of a sudden have this money to put in Baker and probably Nick Chubb and be fairly comfortable.
Oh yeah,
and I don't really want to pay up for anybody on the Giants other than maybe Gallman at 8,800. So I don't think building's going to be too tough. I'm going to have my rules set, though, so that I'm probably going to lower my salary cap and put it closer to like 40,000 to 49,000 today.
40,000, damn, ballsy, bro. So this is what worries me. Kareem Hunt here, you know, he can absolutely get you a 6-point game, and your night's over if you go heavy on him. I think that's why his ownership right now is actually a lot lower than I think it should be. He's coming in, like I said, around under 30%, and he's, you know, around 5%. And the captain, he's like the 7th highest owned or 6th highest owned guy on the slate. I just don't think that. I think that's way too low for him. So I'm going to exploit that. And if he doesn't have his typical, you know, good output where he puts out 20 fantasy points or so, then that's it. The slate's over. But I know that going into it. My risk tolerance is I'm okay with just ending my night if Kareem Hunt doesn't have a good game at that price tag. But I think he can. I think I think the dude can get 6-7 receptions and maybe a touchdown early in the first quarter, in the second quarter, whatever it is. That, you know, they rotate their drives on this team. So it's not like, you know, it's not like Kareem Hunt is going to get pulled at the goal line, but most likely if he's on the drive. I think they just leave Kareem Hunt in the whole drive, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes they'll run both of them in, right? They'll have Nick Chubb back there with Kareem Hunt and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they each get kind of like a predetermined snap count and rotation just to keep each other fresh. And
yeah,
honestly, I would. You have 2 number 1 running backs. Why the fuck wouldn't you want to keep them on the field as much as you can?
So look, Kareem Hunt at 7K. I think you got to get a lot of him. Just understand there is a path to him having, you know, just a below average game because he just might be worked out of it with Nick Chubb pounding the ball in the third and fourth quarter up by 10, 15 points or whatever it is they are. So just think about that. Now, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt together, I think, is an amazing option. You pair him with Baker and you throw in one of the wide receivers or one of the tight ends, and that's a good core. That's a really good core. You're looking at a majority of the offense is going to flow through those 3 guys. And I feel more comfortable getting Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the same lineup together as opposed to getting like 2 of the wide receivers together. That's just me. That's just me personally. Anything to add to that?
No, man, I'm right there with you. And we'll get into it a little bit here later on, but you'll see kind of the pricing around Kareem Hunt. There's really nobody else there. You're either dropping down to get one of the pass catchers on the Giants side or you're paying up for a pass catcher on the Browns side. And yeah. Again, just given the game script I'm preparing for, I think I'd rather just have Kareem Hunt.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I love him, man. I think he's in a great spot here.
It's kind of like the Jamal Williams from last night. Obviously, that didn't work out well because he got injured, but he still had a pretty good output for only playing 1 quarter or whatever it was. It was just that guy. He was kind of the key to unlocking things. You're like, man, if I get this guy in all my lineups, I can actually build good lineups I like. And even though he got injured, he still was in one of my best lineups. I still cashed pretty good. All right, so let's move over to the Giants side here. You got Wayne Gallman coming in at 8,800. I think it's a fair price for him. He's the number 1 guy. He's very, you know, like you heard, he has, I think he's 2nd in the league in yards after contact behind Chubb. So this guy's good. I like Wayne Gallman. I think I saw some stat where he has at least 130 plus yards or a touchdown in basically 6 out of 7 games or something like that. He's efficient. He's getting there in almost every game. He has a high floor, and he's coming in, you know, around 30, 40% ownership. I think that's still pretty good for him. You got Alfred Morris at 1,000 and Dion Lewis at 1,600. This is like throwback. This is like 2008 right here, 2010 at this point.
Right.
Alfred Morris can come in and steal a goal line touchdown. We've seen it. And Dion Lewis can get you a couple receptions out of the backfield, like back in the day with the Patriots. So look, we like Wayne Gallman. Do we like any of these backups as just straight up punts?
Yeah, sure, man. I don't mind getting one or two lineups with another one of these guys in there. The issue for me is I don't know if I'm going to need to pay down that much if I'm going with Kareem Hunt at captain in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah.
And I plan to stack Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt as much as possible. So I want Wayne Gallman, so I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable having 4 running backs in this type of game. So probably not. I may have 1 or 2 with them just because, Alfred Morris could get a touchdown. Dion Lewis could have 14 receptions. Who knows what game script that they're going to really go with on the offensive side of the ball. But I think Wayne Gallman's my guy. I'm going to have as much of him as I can. I mean, look at that. That's, to me, like at 1,000 or 1,600, those kind of performances could put you in the optimal. But 6.4 and then going down 0.6, 2.7, 3.7. It's just inconsistent overall for me.
And the last few weeks, he hasn't even been targeted out of the backfield.
Right.
So just keep in mind.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main reason that I'd have him in, was because of those targets and his ability to get involved in the pass game. But if they're not doing that, then fuck off.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think you need to go down to Alfred Morris or Dion Lewis more than 1 or 2 lineups. And obviously, I don't know if I want to do a double handcuff with the Gallman, Morris, and Hunt, Chubb. I'm not getting 4 running backs in the lineup. I'm not even comfortable getting 3 in most cases. But we know that these teams can run the ball, so I'm more comfortable getting more running backs than I would getting Giants wide receivers who might not even see more than 17 attempts in this game, just simply because Colt McCoy just is not that guy. All right, so let's move over to wide receivers for the Giants. Speaking of that, I've got only 3 guys. Okay, I've got only 3 guys in my player pool here. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and Golden Tate. Shepard's at 7,200. Slayton's at 6,200 and Golden Tate's at 2,400. The pricing on these guys is great. I just think it's the fact that Colt McCoy is the starting quarterback for this team, it really just lowers all of their value. And if Daniel Jones was starting, I feel like 7,200 and 6,200 for both these guys is a great price, and I would jam a shitload of them in along with Daniel Jones. I just don't know if I can do it with McCoy. So what are your thoughts on the wide receivers here? We always like to jam some Golden Tate in our lineups, but I don't know that I can get there this week.
I think having one of these guys isn't terrible. I wouldn't go any more than that. Sterling Shepard, he's a great wide receiver. He has the ability to make plays, and he can get you there. Darius Slayton, same thing. He's fast and he's physical. He can take one to the house. And Golden Tate at 2,400, he becomes interesting. I guess I agree with you though. My biggest concern is how many attempts are we going to get out of Colt McCoy? I mean, if we're looking at just his output, I mean, let's see. Colt McCoy, I think he had 3 attempts last week versus Arizona. Daniel Jones played though, right?
Yeah, I think he got pulled or something. He got injured or something like that.
Yeah, that's right, in the fourth quarter. And then Seattle, in the game they won, he had 22 attempts. And then Cincinnati, he had 10 attempts, right?
I'm assuming that he came into that game late. So, like, the only game he's fully started, he had 22 attempts, which is interesting.
Right, so they're not going to give him more than 30 attempts, I don't think. And that just doesn't – if you're expecting a 60%, 70% completion rate, I mean, you're talking about 20 receptions spread out between, 5 to 7 offensive players. Yeah. And that's just not enough for me. And that's why I kind of like Golden Tate, because at 2,400, you're not really risking all that much. But you do know that Golden Tate can catch two receptions and, I don't know, just throw some fucking dude to the ground and pick up another 30 yards, right? He's a crazy ass receiver.
Yeah, rushing yards, passing touchdowns, trick plays. Look, the Giants are desperate as fuck right now. They need to make the playoffs. These coaches are fighting for their lives. They really want to prove that they're a pretty good team. They're going to pull out anything they can in this game. That's why it's a little worrisome to fade these guys, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Any trick plays they go down. And Golden Tate would be the main guy who benefits from that, because he's sort of that, he's sort of that player that can throw the ball, run the ball, catch the ball, do everything.
So you need to get an R. Kelly soundboard, so that now that we're in the playoffs, right, you can do the "I'm fighting for my life over here" or whatever it is. So I mean that could be a weekly one. I like that. Anyways, back on track here. Yeah, these guys are in play. I'm not going to get crazy. Like I said, I'm going to jam the hell out of the Browns in as many lineups as I can. And just as a heads up, guys, you'll probably hear my dog and my kids start barking right now. My brother's pulling in, so if you hear me in the background having a family, that's just
your kids are gonna be barking. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like my daughter, she puts shit in her mouth like a chew, right? And she just fucking crawls around the house on all fours and growls and shit. Like I think she's trying to be the dog.
You got an extra dog running around. All right, so look. So when it comes to actual snap count, we all know it's pretty obvious based on the pricing. Slayton's the number 1 guy. Shepard's the number 2 guy. Tate's the number 3 guy. I like the pricing. I just don't know if I want to get more than one of these guys in every lineup. And I don't even know if I'm going to actually end up having one receiver in all of my lineups. I'm just going to have to play it out. We're going to have to figure that out. All right, so let's move over to the other side of the ball here for Cleveland. We've got Jarvis Landry coming in at 9,800. Seems a little high for me. Rashard Higgins at 8,200 seems a little high for me. Donovan Peoples-Jones 4,600. He's got upside, but still seems a little high. I feel like they're overpriced here. All these guys.
Yeah, I love it though. I really do, because given the fact that Kareem Hunt's so cheap, I think this might skew ownership a little bit. Some people might come off Landry and Higgins. Look, Landry's going to get he's going to get 1 or 2 pass attempts. You never know, right? And when he hits that pass attempt, it's usually for 34 yards down the field and potentially a touchdown. So those are free points that you can get. So I don't mind Jarvis Landry. I expect his ownership to drop a little bit at 9,800. So we'll see if that initial projection holds. But
yeah,
Rashard Higgins, same thing. I mean, he's coming in pretty low owned on these initial projections, and I bet that has a lot to do with this price and some of the fumbles that occurred last week. But here's the thing, right? Marlon Humphrey might be the best forced fumble fucking guy, whatever you call that, forced fumbler, ball stealer. Defender in the NFL. Like, he just punches the ball out of your fucking hands. So I don't mind Rashard Higgins, and that recency bias is going to take a lot of people off of him. I mean, look at that output. And that's considering that he had a fumble. Well, he had 2 fumbles, one of them lost. So I don't know, man. I love Rashard Higgins. And again, with this pricing, I think people are going to be off these guys. So I think you can get them jammed in.
Yeah.
The score, the total itself and the win probability just shows that people are going to jam the fuck out of Nick Chubb. They're gonna lock button him in. So you might be able to get different simply by fading him, locking Kareem Hunt, and going with a little bit of the passing game.
Yeah.
I mean, Baker's he's gonna throw for 250 yards and probably 2 or 3 touchdowns. Somebody's got to catch that shit. So yeah. I think these guys are in play. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the only reason why I'd be okay with him is because he almost made me a lot of money on Monday night. He saved me a decent amount of money, and it looks like they like to get him involved. But again, that only counts if Kadarius Hodge is out. If Kadarius Hodge plays, I don't know if I really want to get him involved. I think that's where he's going to get most of it. Wait, is Kadarius Hodge $600?
Yeah,
what
he
the
is.
Fuck?
He is. So that's really important, and I think he's gonna play. Kadarius Hodge is. So if he's $600, that's kind of a guy that you can double or triple the field. He's coming in at under 10% owned. This could be one of your punt plays at 600 to give you a unique lineup for sure. What do you think about that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, look. Sorry, my kid's crying. Yeah, no, I think he's definitely in play. I mean, I think he has some big play potential, right? And at fucking $600, again, I don't know if we're gonna need to reach that low for salary this week, just given the fact that I like Kareem Hunt so much. But I don't know, man. He's an interesting play at $600 if he ends up playing. So I think I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him. And given his ownership, you don't even need to get crazy. You could probably run 2 or 3 lineups with him and be fine. If they don't do anything, then they don't do anything, and you just lose a couple lineups.
Well, with the emergence of Donovan Peoples-Jones, this season, I think, and he's a rookie, right? I'm pretty sure he's a rookie. He is a rookie. So look, it could be that they're just going to let DPJ, is that what we can call him? DPJ? They're going to let DPJ continue his current role, even though Kadero Hodge comes back in. Let's look at the actual snap rate here. Let's actually see what's going on with that, because I'm curious to see if Kadero Hodge coming in is actually going to affect Peoples-Jones as much as we think. When was the last time he played? So week 12 was the last time Hodge played. And this is interesting. So in week 12, when Kadero Hodge played, DPJ only had 11% of the snaps, and Hodge had 41%. So that's kind of interesting. I wonder if that's a trend or if that's just an anomaly, because if that's the case, it looks like Hodge is going to get those snaps, and Peoples-Jones is barely going to see the field. So I'm going to do some investigating on this. I'm going to look back and see when they played together what the snap count has looked like, because if you can figure out these two positions and figure out who's going to get more of the snaps. If Kadero Hodge comes in and is going to get those 40 to 50% of the snaps, at $600, you gotta play him a lot. So
yeah, based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it's essentially 1-for-1. If Kadero Hodge plays, Donovan Peoples-Jones doesn't really get anything. Yeah. If Hodge is out, that's when Peoples-Jones gets run.
So, but we don't know if that's going to continue down this path, because Peoples-Jones has been playing pretty well. You don't want to, and the Browns have been doing really well. So, do you really want to mess with that at this point? So, it's one of those things that's up in the air. But Kadero Hodge is worth a handful of lineups to me, because he is that number 3 guy in the past, and that can continue potentially. All right, so let's see here. We're moving on to tight end already. Look at that. So let's look at Cleveland's tight ends. Austin Hooper, questionable. David Njoku, questionable, but they're trending towards playing. If we believe Coach Speak, if we actually believe Kevin Stefanski with his yes or no answers, then these guys will play. But obviously keep an eye on inactives and pay attention to this, because there's a lot of, if these guys don't play, Harrison Bryant is a great fucking play. I mean, they're all right around the same price tag. Austin Hooper's at $4,200. I actually hope Austin Hooper doesn't play, because then David Njoku's an amazing play. So what do you think about these 3 guys? I think they're all an option. They all have some output that they can get.
Yeah, and we'll probably talk about it here pretty quickly, but they're all pretty much the same price as the kickers, and I think I'd rather just have one of these guys. I'm with you. I think if Njoku plays and Hooper's out, Njoku's a really good play. I'm kind of torn on him. I like him closer to the 2,500 mark as opposed to where he's at right now. But again, I don't think he's a bad play. I think you can get David Njoku in some of your lineups. Austin Hooper really hasn't been the same since he left. What was it?
Matt Ryan.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I get it. It's a brand new scheme and all that, but we'll see. Harrison Bryant seems like the guy that they're trying to work in pretty consistently. I like him a little bit. I mean, he's got that one game of 21.6 points, but he's doing it on pretty much a small number of targets, a small number of receptions, right?
Yeah. But he can still get 5-6 targets. That's like kind of his ceiling, and that's pretty good for a guy at that price.
Yeah, and I mean, look, at that game you had 5 targets, 4 receptions, 2 touchdowns. I get that that's kind of a ceiling performance, but I mean, 2 touchdowns is not implausible for a tight ends, right? You get into the 10-yard line and everybody thinks you're going to run. It's so easy to run a play action, just hit your tight end on a pattern. So I think all these guys are in play. Just not to be crazy or anything. You only need one
in
each lineup. But I love all three of these guys. I think they're all viable. They're all athletic, right? They're all pass catching tight ends. None of these guys are really there to run block. So I definitely think they're going to get some run.
I think David Njoku is the best play here if he plays. He has the highest upside. I don't like Austin Hooper. I just don't. He's just not getting there this year. I mean, just look at his output. It's pretty embarrassing. I mean, he can get you 14 fantasy points. I don't at 4,200 that might get you there, but like you're looking at more of a realistic output of like 8 fantasy points, and that'll end your day real quick. You might not even min cash with 8 fantasy points in your flex. So just keep an eye on that. He always has the option of he has high upside in the past, but not with this team. So I'd rather just avoid him. All right, so let's move over to the Giants side of the ball. We've got Evan Ingram, who is questionable. Caden Smith, who's questionable. So this is a big deal here. Look, if Caden Smith is out, then look, they're both Toilolu and Smith are both around the same price, 400 and 200. Evan Ingram's at 5K. If Evan Ingram's out, this is going to change the slate. I don't know if he's going to be out. It seems like maybe he's trending towards playing. So how do you handle this? I know we talked about it in the injury portion of this, but how do you handle seeing Caden Smith at 400 and Tololo at 200? If Evan Ingram plays, can we play any of these other guys? Is it even worth it?
No, I don't think you can. I guess Caden Smith isn't too bad of a play at $400 if Evan Ingram's in and he's in. But I don't know, man. I really don't like any of these guys.
It's not too impressive.
Yeah, well, again, back to the Colt McCoy stuff. How many attempts is he going to get? And why would he go throwing to, Caden Smith? I mean, look, he's got the same output as Levine, Toilua.
David Levine, that's what we call him,
Yeah. No, Adam Levine.
Adam Levine, yeah.
But, yeah, regardless, right? Like, I just don't think I'm getting these guys. I'm pretty much dead set on getting Wayne Gallman when it comes to my Giants guy, and then just building out from there. Evan Ingram, I think he's in play, obviously, if he does play. But again, you're limiting your potential upside because of the amount of opportunities that they're going to get.
Yeah.
And if you want a guy, you're going to have to take a guy who has something who can make something with those opportunities, and that would probably be Evan Ingram from this list.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. If both guys are out and Toilolo is the only person left, then I'm playing Adam Levine, right? Like, because he gives you so much flexibility. Yeah. Now, granted, that's if I need him to save salary. I haven't really started building yet, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But I'm just really not interested in tight end on this side.
Bottom line here: if Evan Ingram plays, you don't really need to consider the other guys. If Evan Ingram's out, then anything can happen, and I would consider both of these guys. All right, let's move over to kickers and defense here. You've got Cody Parkey at 3,800 and Graham Gano at 3,600. Pretty decent pricing for kickers here. I mean, do we consider the Giants kicker? I mean, how often are they going to get into the red zone and stall out and have to kick a 37-yard field goal or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen that often, but I mean, I think Graham Gano is a fairly decent play at 3,600. I don't think I'll ever play Cody Parkey again after what he fucking did on Monday night. Like, how do you not get there when your team scores like 38 fucking points? Like, you should at least have 5. You should at least have 8 fucking points. So I you know what
4
I mean?
points.
Like, how do you do that? Like, they have to start going for 2 so often on 42 points. I mean, come on, dude, that's bullshit. So fuck you. If you can't get there on 7 extra points, then I guess I can't trust you in that position.
Yeah.
And again, right, let's just throw in Golden Tate. I'd rather have his one reception for 25 yards at 2,400.
Yeah, exactly. Graham Gano, he may be one of my 2. Him and Gallman as the only 2 Giants I play a lot of. I don't like playing kickers a lot, but, Graham Gano is 15% owned. So that's the kind of guy that, if he gets you 9-10 fantasy points and Gallman can score a touchdown or 2, and the rest goes to Cleveland, I think that's pretty good. Considering the quarterback situation, considering the fact that this team cannot score a lot of points, I'd rather focus on Gano. He's going to get you any of those extra points, and he'll probably get you 2 or 3 field goals. At that price and that ownership, I kind of like it. I usually don't like kickers because we can't really figure out opportunity. But to me, I think you can with a guy like this, because I just don't have faith. My game script is going to be built around the fact that Colt McCoy is not going to be able to get in the end zone that often. And if anybody scores, it's going to be Wayne Gallman, maybe with a goal line touchdown, mostly coming from field goal side of the ball. So defense-wise, you got the Browns at 5,600 and the Giants at 4K. Can we consider the Browns here? That's a little bit higher, pretty high of a price for a defense that's not that great, but they can cause turnovers. They can cause some sacks here, especially against Colt McCoy. What you have to consider is even if the Giants score 14 points, it doesn't mean that the Browns are going to have a good fantasy output. You need safety, interceptions, sacks, kick returns for touchdowns, whatever it may be. You're going to need that in this game, especially at that price tag. So how do you handle Browns and Giants defense here?
I guess my question is do you think Hassan Reddick is better than Myles Garrett?
Yes. Or no, I don't. I don't.
Okay.
No,
I was like, wait a second, man. What the fuck?
No, no, definitely
not. So I think that matters. I'm not saying that Myles Garrett's going to go out and get 5 sacks and 4 straight fumbles. That's probably not going to happen again, considering I don't think it's happened in NFL history. So, but I do think that this defensive line could just beat the shit out of the Giants' offensive line. I think you do have 6-7 sack potential, and those are all full points. You get 2 or 3 fumble recoveries, and then all of a sudden you're at 9, and that's assuming you give up 35 points, right?
Yeah.
Now, so I definitely think they're in play. I'm not going to get too crazy with it because I assume that they're probably going to be being chalky, especially if we get some more people ruled out on the Giants side of the ball.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's worth taking a stab on, maybe in a lineup that you fade Baker and just stack the shit out of all the running backs. And I think you could do something like that and then just run it back with Gallman and fucking Gano, or just Gano even.
Would you consider Brown's captain?
Maybe 1 or 2 lineups. I don't know if I need to get too crazy. I just think that there's going to be higher scorers, and I think Kareem Hunt has a much bigger ability to outscore what you would need for the Browns to be the optimal captain. Yeah. So I don't think so, but maybe 1 just to get fucking crazy in a deep 150 type GPP. But other than that, I don't think so.
I mean, Kareem Hunt is only $1,400 more than the Browns defense. To me, I'd rather get all Kareem Hunt and then throw a couple Browns defense in scattered around. They're about projected for around 20% ownership. So maybe I come in at 25, 30%, right around there, just to get a little bit above the field, because I do think that they can actually, like you said, get some sacks on this team, and that's pretty important. All right, so let's move over to our fade of the night.
What's your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony!
Big surprise here, Colt McCoy.
Fuck you, Colt McCoy.
Yeah, fuck you, Colt McCoy. Yeah, exactly. There's really nothing to talk about here. I just don't think he's going to get there. I mean, he has a ceiling of maybe 2 touchdown like this guy's been. How long has this guy been in the league? Do we remember?
Yeah, he played against. No, Vince Young was Matt Leinart, right? And then, dude, this was a long fucking time ago.
He probably got drafted in like 2009, 2008, maybe. I could be way off here, but I feel like he's been in the league like for 10 years.
I haven't liked him since he's been in the league.
And he's never been a starting caliber quarterback. He's a serviceable backup. That's why he's still in the NFL. I'm not coming out and saying I hate this guy as a football player. I'm saying I hate him as a fantasy player because I just don't think he can get there, especially on a team like this.
I'm saying I hate him as a football player, so that's fine. You can hate him as a DFS player. I fucking hate him as a look, dude. I get it. Like he's a good old
boy.
Fucking meats and potatoes. Like he grew up in he's like the picturesque person that you would expect to come out of Texas, right? Like I'm here to play quarterback. Like, no shit, you are. Like, get the fuck off my squad. Anyways, I don't like him.
All right, let's move on to our favorite captain choice here on DraftKings. This is going to be a big surprise for you guys as well.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
We're both going with Kareem Hunt. I like the salary. I like the ownership. I like the upside. If he was higher, if he starts to creep up into that 10% or more, then this all changes. But if he stays around 6, 7%, 5%, I really like him. And having at 7K salary, you're able to get all the other players that you really want. And we'll find out right now, actually, how well this is going to build with him. So anything to add to this? I mean, we already talked everyone's ear off about Kareem Hunt.
No, man. I do want to say one thing though. I think even if he gets above 10%, as long as he doesn't go above really 15% for me, is where I think I'll come off him. I just think he's too good of a play given his price tag and his potential upside. That 10% won't scare me off like it would on a normal slate.
And I think it's scaring everyone off because the fact that he's the number 2 guy technically. I think he's getting less snaps than Chubb. And he's more valuable in the pass game. And for a team with a low total, and for a game with a low total, and going against a team that they're favored against, I think people are going to just automatically assume that Chubb is going to be the guy getting the carries and getting the touches later in the game, because that's just how the script is working out. And I agree with that. But that's where I'm using that leverage to play Kareem Hunt because of his lower ownership, just because people assume that they know how this rotation is going to go. I don't care. Like, I feel like Kareem Hunt can still get there even if he gets 40% of the snaps. All right. So let's move over to our lineup build here. Let's get Kareem Hunt in. We're going to do 2 different captains. We'll use Kareem Hunt, and then we'll try another one that we like. So let's see. Where is he at? Kareem Hunt's captain. That leaves us with 7.9K for the rest of our lineups. I like that. We'll automatically jam in Baker. Should we throw in Chubb to see how this lineup goes? What do you think?
Yep.
Chubb and Gallman, right? Don't you think?
Yeah. 100%.
So now we want to throw in. We're going to want to throw in one more Giant player for this lineup, and one more Cleveland player. We're at 44.50 remaining. Do you want to just go with? Let's build with our kicker here. Don't you think?
Yeah, I do.
If I could fucking find them. Where are the kickers at? Why do they have no kickers? They have no kickers listed here. Good job. Good job, guys. Are you?
Oh, you're right. What the fuck?
Why do they have no kickers? How do you fucking add players?
You have to go to hide and projected and uncheck that box. And you'll see him, Cody Parker.
Oh, because they're not projected. They're not projected. Okay, so Graham Gano. No photo, no projection. That's all right. So that leaves us with 5,300 here. So do we want to go wide receiver, one of the wide receivers for Cleveland? I think we have to, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this seems like a great lineup to throw DPJ in.
Yeah, for sure. And you leave a little bit on the table. You leave $700. For the Giants, you're capturing goal line carries, any rushes. I'm pretty confident that Wayne Gallman will go over 100 yards, and if he doesn't, he'll at least get a touchdown. Then you got Graham Gano, who can get you a couple 30, 40-yarders, paired up with all the rushing and, Baker Mayfield, any other passing that he throws to any other wide receivers. I actually really like this lineup a lot. I think this could be slightly chalky. You know what I mean? Don't you agree?
I do. Here, let's try something. Take out Gano and DPJ. Throw in Kadarius Hodge.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Let's see how this goes. All right. So that leaves us with 8,300 for a Giants player, potentially.
I mean, look, so I don't hate that. If you're feeling a little less ballsy about thinking that this is a blowout and building for that, you can throw in Sterling Shepard here, right?
Yeah.
You can throw in Darius Slayton with this. I mean, leave a shitload on the table and Devin Ingram.
Yeah.
And then maybe fix out Kadarius Hodge a little bit there. But it gives you a little bit more balanced exposure to what you're doing on the other side. And then, again, I think this is a great look. I think Kareem Hunt is pretty much the captain for me because look at this. We have everybody. We can pivot off of Baker Mayfield. If we think that this is we can pivot off of Nick Chubb and start jamming in a bunch of other pieces. I really like this building.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can get rid of Nick Chubb here. You can go with Jarvis Landry. I know you're leaving a lot on the table, so you can then adjust someone else. There's a lot of areas. There's a lot of flexibility here. Like you can literally just start with Kareem Hunt, Baker Mayfield, Wayne Gallman, and then rotate out. Like you can just lock those guys into your optimizer and let them bust out as many possible lineups as possible, and then choose your favorites. Like maybe set it to 2 uniques, so every lineup has different guys, and then choose some of your favorite lineups based on that core. And you could probably get 15 lineups that you really like out of that and cover your bases from there. So I actually really like doing that. All right, so is there another guy? Let's build with another guy, like maybe a Jarvis Landry. Do you want to build with Chubb and see if that's even possible and see what's going on with that?
Yeah, let's build with Chubb and see where we can get for that, because I still think I'll probably have 1 or 2 lineups with Chubb at captain, just because he does have the potential to be that by far the highest scorer on the slate.
Definitely.
Now in this lineup, I think we're gonna have to fade Baker.
I totally agree. So,
but let's handcuff.
Yeah, I think getting Kareem in here along with him is a great idea. And then I really want to get Wayne Gallman. I just like Wayne Gallman a lot. So this is where we're going to need to find our value here when you have a guy like Chubb at that price tag in the captain. So where do we go? Do we want to look at Hodge? Do we want to look at kickers? Like, what do you think?
No, I think this is a good lineup to start taking stabs on guys like Golden Tate. I think he gives you a little bit of flexibility just being at 2,400.
Yeah.
And he's going to be low owned enough that if he gets there, then, you're going to get what you need. Am I at fucking white noise right now?
Yeah, you're inside the Matrix again. But yeah.
Okay.
But we can hear you,
right.
So that's all that matters.
7,500. So, you know what?
I mean, what about tight? Do we want to try any of these tight ends here?
Honestly, I think we should go tight end on the Browns side, and I think throw in Njoku. Yeah,
that leaves us with 11-6. So we could get Baker. We could get Baker.
Put in Baker Mayfield. Yeah, fuck it.
So that's
crazy.
Yeah, so that's an option here. So you got your Baker Mayfield and Njoku connection. Any receptions to Chubb and Hunt, and let's just say he spreads the ball out and passes for 250 across the board. You're going to capture all that offense. I really like this too.
If you're uncomfortable with Golden Tate, I think you have enough almost to get a kicker. Or no, not quite, but still, I mean, it's not awful, right?
Almost, yeah.
You still have that. I didn't think that would be that easy to build that kind of lineup with Nick Chubb. I mean, keep in mind, Golden Tate and Njoku are kind of riskier plays, but they're definitely high upside, right? So, I mean, you're going to be different in this kind of lineup without getting too crazy. I actually really like this build. I might put this in a single entry.
Well, look, yes, this is more of a single entry, situation here. I think you can actually put this in a large field, but this is where things get interesting. If Nick Chubb is 15% in the captain, if Gallman is 40% owned, if Baker Mayfield is 50% owned, you start to get into a lot of dupes with this kind of lineup. I know that Njoku and Tate together in a lineup is probably going to be relatively low owned. So this is the kind of lineup you need to be unique with Tate and Njoku. I don't feel comfortable having both of those guys in the lineup together, but that's how you should feel when you're building with a chalky captain. You're going to have to feel uncomfortable. If you feel too comfortable about it, it's probably very chalky and you're going to dupe with 200 other people and you're going to lose money. So just think about that. All right. Do we want to do any other lineup build here? What do you think? You want to do one more?
Sure. Let's throw on Wayne Gallman at captain.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I actually like doing a 2-4, like a reverse here. What do you think about that?
Yep.
I actually love doing 2-4s in games where it can get out of hand for the one team, but you can get a lot of garbage time stuff. So Gallman at captain. We got to go Baker here. We got to go now. Do we want to go Chubb or Hunt? Do you want to just go with Chubb?
Honestly, if we're doing a Wayne Gallman captain, I kind of think Baker Mayfield, Kareem Hunt, and
better.
then fading Chubb for Landry would be a little bit better.
Yeah, I like that. Let's get Landry in. See, the pricing here is really soft. Like we can do anyone we want at captain, and there's enough value that we can land this easily. Because look, you've got Mayfield, Hunt, and Landry, some of the best players on the entire team, and you still have 4,700 remaining. So let's get one more Giants player in here.
I like Graham Gano.
Okay.
I think so. 5,800. Does DPJ work there?
Or you can do Browns defense. It's a ballsy ass, negatively correlated play, but like, hey, shit, it's there, it's available for you. Gallman and the captain run it back with Browns defense. That's pretty fucking ballsy. No one's gonna play that.
Well, look, dude, if Wayne Gallman can still be the highest scoring player on the slate, right? And the Browns only score, or the Giants only score 7 points.
Yeah,
he could have 150 rushing, or 100. What did he have? 134 rushing yards and
135. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Look, so I mean that could happen, and that's not a terrible lineup either. Building is going to be fun tonight, actually, man. I kind of like this.
I know. So instead of Gano, let's look at wide receivers for the Giants and see if we can fit anybody else in 3,800. So you could go Tate. You could go Golden Taint. Can you go anybody? Can you go? No, you can't do anybody else. So Golden Taint or the kicker in this situation. Anyways.
We'll take out the Browns defense. Throw in DPJ and see what we can get.
Okay. Let's see. Where's he at? 4,600. That leaves us 4,800. Still doesn't really do much for us. But look, the bottom line here, we're built like these builds. This is gonna be fun. And I'm more likely, me personally, I'm more likely to hand build a lot of and when I say hand build, I'm not necessarily going to hand build every lineup. I'm going to lock in my captain and a couple flex players and let the optimizer figure out the rest, and then go through and individually pick those lineups based on ceiling, based on ownership, based on dupes, things like that.
Okay, one more before we wrap this up. Take out DPJ and throw in Harrison Bryant or Njoku. Go Njoku.
Okay. Njoku.
See what that gives us. 6K.
Now we got to get a guy from the other side. Evan Ingram. There you go. Yeah, that's fun too. We leave 1,000 on the table. You got 4 Cleveland Browns. You got 4 really good Cleveland Browns, and you run it back with the 2. This is a 2-4 stack here. I really like this. All right, man.
What? Jacoby Brissett is playing. What the fuck is going on?
He's probably just in for a Hail Mary or a fucking 4th down and 1 play.
Oh yeah, I just happened to look at his 0 for 1. It's 1 attempt. Okay.
Yeah, that's why. All right, so Ellie, send us out here. How are you going to build today when it comes to actually physically building? Are you hand building a few lineups out to get the feel of it like we just did? Like, what are you going to do today when you sit down and actually start building?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna hand build a couple. We've been doing a little bit better, and I've been seeing you succeed a little bit more in the single entries. So I think I'm gonna hand build a couple and just go with a little bit more balanced builds in those, so I can kind of hedge my 20 max a little bit better.
Yeah.
But tonight's gonna be 4-2. I'm gonna be game planning and game stacking for pretty much a Browns blowout.
Yeah, I think me too. I don't think you need to get too different here. I think the Giants can score 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals. But, if you could find those 2 touchdowns from the Giants, then you're going to be really well off, because I think the Browns players that we all know and love are going to go off tonight. I'm going to stick with 4 2s, maybe get a 1 or 2 5 1s if I can, especially if that ownership stays as close as it is when it comes to the 2 teams. I think you have to consider just going with the most likely outcome. The only reason why I would consider playing more Giants is if the ownership comes in way lower, like 100 points lower, like we saw over the past, like we saw on the Saturday slates where the ownership was just so different. That's where you would consider playing more Giants, like doing 3-3 stacks. I don't know that I want to do any 4-2s for Giants. I just don't think that that's necessary, because I just don't think that they get there when it comes to scoring. So anyways, guys, focus on not duping. Focus on your contest selection. Single entry, you can be a little bit more chalky. You don't have to be as dangerous in the captain. Large field tournaments, get a little crazy in the captain if you want. And focus on not trying to dupe, because that's really important. I had a single entry that was not duped out of, there's 20,000 entries and it wasn't duped, I would have solo took home, 15K. And that's kind of nice to have. And it was still a great lineup. So just think about that. All right, guys, thank you so much. We're going to see you guys back for Monday Night Football. Take it easy. Thanks, guys.